Hello and welcome to this responsAbility webcast on the topic of microfinance and its role in financial sector development. With more than $2 billion assets under management, responsAbility is the largest private sector investor in microfinance. I will be talking today to Rochus Mommartz, who has been a member of our executive board since 2008. Rochus, how would you describe a functioning financial sector? And what is the role of the financial sector in the economy?
A well-functioning financial sector is basically described by two characteristics: stability and efficient capital allocation. The financial sector is not an objective in itself. It's a part of the economy which is required and necessary to actually make functioning the real economy. That is what we are looking for.
You claim that microfinance can drive financial sector development. How does it achieve that?
Many people, when they think about microfinance, and when microfinance came up, like let's say 30 years ago, people were thinking this is basically bringing financial services to a certain group of people who have been excluded from financial services. That was the idea of microfinance. Then the industry and the practitioners found out, yeah, but to do this in a sustainable manner, you need institutions. It's not one-time services. You need institutions to deliver those services over time. But when you need institutions, you are building institutions, but you are building a sector. It is financial sector development. So when you say you claim, I would say I don't claim. By definition, microfinance has to be financial sector development.
However, Rochus, microfinance has often been praised as a means to reduce poverty on the one side, but on the other side it has been criticized for not achieving this objective. How do you reply to such criticism?
I don't have to say poverty is a very complex phenomenon. And if you want to really reduce poverty in a country, to think one single factor, be it financial services, be it education, be it health or whatever, name those initiatives, can in itself alleviate poverty. It's a simplification. So to claim microfinance and poverty alleviation, or to say this is my basic equation, is already starting from the wrong platform or from the wrong level. So, but as a lot of people have been claiming this or have been expressed that, of course, then it's only too understandable that when you look deeper in the countries and see it is not as simple, and say, yeah, but microfinance cannot in itself or by itself alleviate poverty. When you understand on the other level that microfinance is financial sector development, and you know that financial sector development goes hand in hand with the growth in those economies, and the growth in the economies is, of course, probably the most important contribution to poverty alleviation, it contributes, but it cannot just achieve that objective in itself.
What can be done to avoid misuse of microfinance? For example, driving borrowers into over-indebtedness.
Basically, we are talking about responsible financial systems. And there are three parties involved. There are the clients, obviously. There are the institutions, let's call them the banks, and there is a regulator. And all three have a certain role to play in this. When we talk about financial services for low-income households, obviously the client is the weakest part in the triangle. Even when we talk about financial service for the general public, the client is a much weaker component compared to the large banks or to the regulator. So client, to a certain extent, has its own responsibility, but also has to be protected. The government has to make sure, with its institutions and the regulation, that regulation is in place which counterbalances the risk. A lot of progress has been made, still progress can be done. And the banks, of course, have their own responsibility, because in their relationship with the client, specifically when it comes to low-income households, they have to have procedures in place which actually avoid putting their clients themselves into a higher risk. So all of this has to be developed and has to function.
And at what point in time is financial sector development actually concluded? And would responsAbility still be investing in microfinance once that point has been reached?
financial sector development, as I said at the beginning, takes place over decades. So when will it be concluded? I don't know. It will take time in a lot of countries. Even when we say, what is a reasonable, under today's perspective, what is a reasonable development stage of a sector? Many countries have quite a long way to go. And of course, once this happens, I still think there is a certain role to play, but a different role. But it makes us actually also proud to have contributed to a certain degree that those sectors developed and came to a stage where they can, now we basically stand on our own feet and we have that stability and efficient capital allocation. We can basically provide these services.
Rochus, thank you very much for this interesting insight. Rochus is also discussing this topic in an article published in the 2014 issue of Perspectives, responsAbility's annual publication on our investment activities and their impact. Perspectives is now available from our website, and you can also order hard copies or subscribe for more information on responsAbility and our investment themes.